So hello and welcome back to the channel. It's been such a long time since I've done a video, so I thought I'd knuckle down and get one done. So here we are, we're going to be starting out at Watkins Glen in the Falcon V8 supercar, and a couple of things I'll be covering on the video at the start will be a few issues I wanted to raise. Then we'll take a look at my fast lap round the circuit. As per usual, I'll delve into the setup and just explain why I've made certain changes. Then we'll take a nice slow ride round the circuit where I can point out a few areas where you might want to look at approaching into corners, etc. And then we'll have a look at the flying replay. So let's get cracking as per usual. So I wanted to kick off this video with a clip from my last video that I produced, and it was all to do with damage during a race and how you could better your lap time or better your pit stop time. But during that test, I figured that it just seemed to be impossible to get a good lap round Monza during this session, and I only seemed to be able to manage about a 150, which is way off my usual pace. Anyway, since coming back, I thought I was going to produce a video about this issue, and if you reduced how many cars were on the circuit, it would obviously start to better your lap time and the force feedback would feel better. But coming back to the game, I managed to set a 147.3 during the first couple of laps, which really did take me by surprise, and obviously that video then went to pieces. So I've come back on, I thought I'd just do one of the usual fast lap setups and walkthroughs, and what better car to choose on the comeback to do the Ford V8 supercar. It's not around Bathurst as per the usual, but obviously I've done that video before and I'll link that just above. But another one of my favourite circuits is the Watkins Glen International circuit, and obviously this car combination. Now, there's probably not been so many cars around here or so many drivers posting lap times, so it's probably nowhere near as competitive as the Bathurst lap. But I thought I'd spend a little bit of time just getting to grips with the car around the circuit. I managed to set the fastest time on Xbox One and over the PC trying to think of the word. I think I'll go with interface. Anyway, I thought I'd try and set a lap, and I've managed to set a 136 or 138.6. I think I averaged around a 138.8, 139, but getting into the 136s or 138.6 was sort of my goal, because that was the fastest lap on Xbox One. So let's get into the lap. We'll take a look at the lap, then we'll take a look at the setup I've used. I'll obviously drive around the circuit and we'll take a look at some of the lines into the corners, some of the places where you definitely don't want to be taking any curbs, and then I'll just look at the replay. But it's been a long time since I've done a video. As much as I enjoy doing the sim racing stuff, I am a gamer at heart, and I've been putting quite a bit of time into PUBG lately. Just making a lot of new friends on there and just really enjoying just gaming again, and coming back and forward to the channel. Just want to try and let people know that I am producing videos still, and just managed to get back in the seat and just do a little lap round here just for the fun of it. So if there's anything you want to see on the channel, if there's any cars and track combinations you'd like me to cover, or if there's any aspects of the game that you think need looking at, please do put a comment in the comment section, and I'll try and get back to you. So let's get on with the lap. just a quick mention guys, please do remember to smash that subscribe button and tap the bell icon for any future videos. So let's take a look at this setup. So moving into the tyres, we're going to obviously run a soft tyre. I did try running the hard tyre, but it just seems to lack grip right from the turn one. So obviously we're going to set a slightly harder tyre on the front end just to over-emphasise the rear end getting a softer grip. And the brake pressure, I'm running 95%, but that's totally down to personal preference. Brake bias is slightly more towards the front of the car just to try and stop the car from oversteering, or getting like oversteer on corner entry. And again, just running a slight bit of front ducts open just to allow some air onto the brakes. And the rear downforce is set at 5 just to aid in getting some rear end grip. And the longitudinal weight bias is set all the way to the rear. Again, once again, or should I say again, to over-emphasise the rear grip. The caster angles aren't maxed out, but 6.5, and the front camber angles set at 3.4, obviously to try and get some good turning response. Ride height, as per usual, is as low as it's going to go on the front end of the car, and obviously looking at the rear end of the car, you can see that there's a 10mm difference, just to add a little bit of rake to the car. Camber angles at the rear are set at 2, just to try and aid in some acceleration as well as cornering grip. I did try 2.5 and 1.5 at the rear, but just seemed to be better overall at 2.0. Steering ratios, obviously I'm running the McLaren GT3 wheel, so I'm wanting to get from lock to lock without taking my hands off the wheel, so I've got a very short steering ratio, running 8.0. Toe angles at the front, just to try and get again that turning response. And the anti-roll bar, I did try this at 400 and 200, and 300 seemed to be the sweet spot, just to try and aid in that mid-corner understeer and getting a bit more response by stiffening the front end as opposed to the rear. Obviously if we do stiffening, everything's stiffer at the front than it is at the rear, just to try and emphasise getting some rear grip and being able to get out the corners quite quickly. Again, as you can see, everything's stiffer on the front as it is at the rear. Obviously, one of the other things I'd want to mention time and time again is the rebound is always higher than bump, so you can notice that on all of the suspension setups. Looking at the radiator, obviously we're going to close that out as much as we can and running air restriction and maximum. I did try braking down at 0, but just seems to turn the car too much under braking, end up losing the rear. And the final drive ratio, if you have this all the way at 4.8, you really are, even 3.9 at the longest straight on the circuit, you're going to be topping out the 6th gear, and you're just not going to get the most out of the acceleration down the long straights. So coming down to 3.5 there, and not really adjusting any of the other gears as before when I've used the setup at Bathurst. If you are running traction control, I suggest using it around the 20% mark, but there is no traction control on this car. Don't think there's any ABS either. So, and moving to a differential is just a spool differential, so there's no real setup to choose on there, and that's the setup, guys. So starting the lap, we start just a few corners before the start-finish straight, and just gives you a chance really to practice around this last bend, trying to keep the power down, just adjusting the steering really with the brake pedal. So starting the lap, we're going to be flat out from here in 3rd gear, just trying to hug this inside curve as close as we can without taking any curb. All of the curbs on this circuit really do send the car somewhat offline, scrub speed, or just cause you to spin out in general. Now we're going to be flat out down here, down into 4th gear, then into 3rd gear, and then just at that between the 400 and 300 we're going to start to brake. And it's a tricky one here. You really want to hug this inside, and the camber on the circuit has a little bit of a lip just there, so it's hard to get back on the power initially until you're really over that lip. Sometimes it really does spin the car out. Take as much curb on the left hand side as you straighten up, but as you come through this section, just trying to take the line of least resistance, try not to scrub that inside curb too much, and then just allow the car to run wide out onto the right hand side of the circuit, hugging the right hand side of the circuit as we come through that section, and then flat out right the way up into 6th gear. And we're looking again for the 400-300 yard board, and we're just going to start to add a little bit of brake in between there somewhere, dropping down into 5th, then into 4th, taking as much of that curb as you can. Again on the left hand side there, really hugging that inside curb, again taking a little bit of left hand curb. Don't take too much or this happens. Instantly you can see I've hit that pause button because I know I've just got a one-way ticket to the barrier. Anyway, we're going to run out onto the left hand side of the circuit, again dropping down into 4th gear, or just holding 4th gear through here and taking as much closer to the apex as you can, just allowing the car to drift out. Obviously where the track starts to change colour just here, it slightly darkens. We're going to take a drop down into 3rd gear, and then just really hugging this corner as tightly as you can, but do not get on that curve or this happens. And as you can see, it's a one-way ticket to the barrier. So we're going to be flat out in 3rd gear. Coming down here, we'll take a shift up to 4th gear and into 5th, and then back down into 3rd gear for this really tight apex. Get on the power as soon as you can, and then just let the car just run wide out to the edge of the circuit, and then flat out up here into 4th and into 5th. Now again, we're looking for this first billboard sign on the left hand side, the 300. Slightly just before that, we're going to brake down and then just into 3rd gear, hugging this corner. Again, don't take any curb, allow the car to run wide onto the outside, and then again might get up into 4th and then quickly down into 3rd, get over the rise and then back on the power. It's always really twitchy coming out of that corner with so little grip. Staying in 4th gear for this second to last corner, let the car run slightly wide out onto the right hand curb, and then again just a little drop down into 3rd gear where the tarmac changes colour, and then just letting the car run wide out onto the left hand side of the circuit and over the line. So finally we're on to the replay and just enjoy it. So that concludes the video for today, guys. Like I said at the start of the video, if there is anything, any lap and car combinations you want me to cover in a future video, or if you've got any comments about the channel or things you'd like to see featured, or any other aspects of this game or any other racing game, please do leave your comments in the comment section, and I'll look forward to reading them and maybe do something about it in the next video. Thanks again for watching, guys, and as always, ciao for now.